Hey there, it's Nate Tschetter and Blake Angelos from Yamaha, and we're here at Kraft Music talking about the Reface mobile mini keyboard series, and we're talking about the Reface DX.
If you'd like to learn more about the entire Reface series, check out the video overview on Kraft Music. So this is the Reface DX. So DX synthesizers were introduced in 1983 with the DX7. That was used by virtually everyone in the 80s and is truly an iconic synthesizer.
That's right, and the technology that powered the DX7 was called FM synthesis. FM stood for frequency modulation. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But now we have the Reface DX. And the Reface DX can go from those sounds of the 80s, the retro 80s, but it's also used a lot in EDM music, cutting-edge sounds in dance music, dubstep, all sorts of modern music. People use it because it makes these really edgy, aggressive sounds. And the nice thing about the Reface DX, in addition to the small size and the great feel and everything, is this new interface for accessing the FM. It makes it really interactive. That was always a little bit of a problem with the DX. You edited one parameter at a time. But with this new control panel, you can access 4 parameters simultaneously. So FM synthesis, it stands for frequency modulation, and maybe we should explain a little bit about what that is.
Absolutely. See, before the DX, the method of synthesis was really called subtractive synthesis, where you have a bunch of parameters and you kind of take away and you filter out what you don't want. But with the DX7, it was a programmable digital synthesizer, but its method of synthesis was called additive synthesis, truly an additive synthesizer.
Right, so in subtractive synthesis, you'd start with maybe a more complex waveform and take stuff out, like you said. Additive synthesis, you would start with relatively simple waveforms, sine waves in the case of the DX7, and you'd add them together mathematically, and we're being very simplistic just for the sake of a short video. You'd add them together to create some very complex and evolving and dynamic tones. So that was the sound, and when the DX came out with this sound in the 80s, it really changed everything. It was a sound that people hadn't really heard before. It had a lot of polyphony for the day, so it was an incredibly popular instrument. So here's an example of a classic DX style sound. And here's an example of kind of a more modern, aggressive style sound. And here's an example of how you can use the interactive touch panel to change the sound in real time as you play.
That was one of the things that I always missed on my DX7 when I had it, was just the ability to do exactly what you're doing. Not anything real in-depth to dig in and really do a whole lot of complex editing, but just have a few parameters that can drastically change the sound in real time. That's one of the true benefits that I saw immediately with the Reface DX, is just that ability to jump right in and change some powerful parameters to really drastically edit the sound in real time.
Yeah, it really becomes interactive. You can really change the sound. You don't really have to know too much about it. If you are interested, this is a neat thing about this Reface DX, in that each operator, so that's the basic element of sound, can have its own feedback loop, and you can change the shape of that feedback loop individually for each operator. So that's what I was doing. I was manipulating it between saw and going all the way down to none, and then back down to square. And you could hear how the sound would change. This is saw. It's a little more hollow sounding. And you see how I can control all four at once. Here's the saw, and this is a little bit more buzzy sounding, brighter sounding. So it's just a way for you to experiment with it. Another cool thing you can do, you can change the frequency of each operator, and this can get you some pretty radical sounds quickly. In this one, starts to take the bottom out. And if I change this one, it'll really change. And I can hold these down. So it's a really great way to interact with FM synthesis, even if it's new to you and you haven't ever experienced before. You can still do stuff. For those who are the hardcore editors, you have all access to all of the panel. You can edit each operator. You can edit all the EGs, all that stuff. It's all here in the Reface DX. And another cool thing we've added is effects. That's something we never had on the DX7.
Yeah, that's right. You actually have two effect processors that are capable of generating, a variety of about 6 or 7 effects. So distortion, touch wah, chorus, flange, phaser, delay, and reverb. Both effects are identical, so you can have reverb and delay, or phase and distortion. That's a great thing, and yes, absolutely something that I missed on my DX7. I had a bunch of external pedals to do all that stuff.
Another cool thing that you have in the Reface DX is you have the looper feature. So the looper lets you record MIDI phrases and play them back. So it's a great way you can tweak the sound while it's playing, or change the sound completely to a different voice. Or you can use it to build up sound. So you can play a little bit of a low part for a bass line, then you can add a chord on top and just capture an idea. It's really easy how it works. It again uses the touch, and you'll notice the panel changes when it has on-offs. It just puts a little dot, so you know to push that button. So if I hit start, it'll start beeping with that sound. This is the time. So now I can just play a little phrase. And if I wanted to add to that, and it's still going, I can do anything I want on the Reface, so I can change to a different sound. So it's a cool way to record your ideas and or experiment with the currently selected voice.
Your groove was so tight that I had to play my favorite lead sound over that.
Yes,
Dyna lead.
Dyna lead. Yes, it's a favorite. So why don't you check out some quick voice demos we have on the Reface DX.